The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle, where you can access your full potential right now. Finally break free from destructive habits. That dream life, if you want it, you can have it. This is where you transform your health, mind, business, and relationships. Or do nothing and keep your life the way it is. But if you're ready for change, you're in the right place. This is where you're gonna learn how to live a habit-based lifestyle. You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Ewing. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
Hey, what's up, guys? Jesse, Habit-Based Lifestyle. I wanted to jump on here real quick and just do the weekly show, which is the Habit-Based Lifestyle and Business Show. Today's topic that we're going to talk about is risk plus or minus resistance equals results. And one thing that kind of came up this week is a lot of clients inside of, habit-based lifestyle, and even people we interview, we talk about waiting for the perfect time to do something. And one of the things that we often figure out is the reason why we wait until the perfect time is really because we are trying to wait until there's little to no risk in doing something. So whether that be, risk in launching a program, risk in launching a book, a product, a service, or even a lot of the people that come into our program, it's the risk of launching themselves online to start a business or really just to start marketing themselves. And so the number one reason why people wait is because of the risk. I think it's human nature that we want to eliminate all risk before we do something, in case something, happens, in case, whatever our fear is. But no matter how much you try, I think the number one thing is you cannot eliminate risk. And so, I title this, the risk plus or minus equals, or doesn't equal, but plus or minus the resistance equals the results. And what does that mean? That means that we take the risk that we have, if we add that to a greater amount of resistance, then we have a bigger result. If we take risk and we wait on it, then what we do is we have less resistance, but we also have less results. And so I think that the important thing to figure out isn't the risk, it's how much resistance is there to the risk that determines our results. And so I think it's important that when the resistance is high, the results on the other side of that are very high. When the risk is low, the results on the other side of that are very low. And so there's always a risk if you want to think about it in those terms. But what we often don't think about is, waiting. There's a risk of waiting until it's too late, and there's a risk of launching and not working. But the biggest thing is which risk are we really in control of, and which risk is really going to give us the results we want? Because I know even for myself, there's been times where, I'm waiting. But what else also happens is the more we wait, the more that the effect of the results go down, because the resistance begins to slowly deteriorate. And so if we wait and wait and wait, the resistance actually gets less and less because of the result, or the after effect of the resistance is not as good as it once was. And so, anytime we step into anything, the risk is always there. And a lot of times it is an excuse to take action. But when we can learn that the greater the resistance with the risk, the greater the result is at the end of that. And so, even if you're afraid, which I would say, if it's anything new that maybe you're not used to, whether it be stepping into a new job, getting out of debt, stopping a bad habit, even a lot of times just starting a new business or a new type of business. Or I think the number one fear and risk people have nowadays is actually taking their business online or starting another variation of their business online. And in that, they procrastinate, they wait, they do all kinds of things, but there is no greater time than to risk, what you're doing right here and right now. And it's all about taking one step and then another. And I think sometimes, when we have this feeling of not wanting to take action or waiting till the perfect time, it's really because we haven't been able to step into the resistance. And when we feel that resistance, that's the time where we know we're actually going into the right direction. And I always think of it this way: is the bigger the risk, the bigger the resistance, which means the bigger the result. The smaller the risk, the smaller the resistance, and the smaller the results. And so if we know that, why do we still, wait for the perfect time? Because we fear, what's on the other side of that resistance, whether it be, a big result and success, or whether it be no result and no success and maybe looking bad. But I want to encourage you today to really think about, this equation and write it down. And anytime you feel like you have to risk something, either subtract the risk from the resistance or add the risk to the resistance. And then you can look at the end result that you're going to get. And so, it's, to me, like looking at this equation is, man, this is a no-brainer that I'm going to step into this resistance, because the more I feel it, the bigger the end result at the end of it. And I always like to think of it as like working out, right? If we have a huge resistance working out, obviously there's such a big resistance that maybe we can't even lift the weight. But if the resistance is enough to where it really challenges us, the result is even greater. But if we're just going through the motion and there's not much resistance and there's not much risk to it, then there's also not much result to it. It's kind of like going through the motion. And I don't know very many people that want to actually go work out, give themselves very little resistance, but then on the other side of it, have an expectation of results. But yet that's how we show up inside of our business. That's how we show up inside of other areas of life. And we expect a big result from that. And yet we're not even willing to put resistance on that area. And so I want to challenge you today and encourage you today to step into that resistance, step into the results that you ultimately want in your life and in your business. And I just want to leave you with that and encourage you to do those things. So thank you for being a part of the Habit-Based Lifestyle community. Drop a comment if you're listening to this. If you're watching the replay, #replay, or if you're listening to this on the podcast, message us, Jesse@habitbasedlifestyle.com. And we'd love to hear from you. Have a great day.
The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse